101. So I think we will get started with our next presentation. We are very fortunate today to have Amanda Alford with us. She is an educational technologist, former K-12 school teacher. And she is going to show us some ways we can use educational technology tools both in online courses as well as in our classrooms for those of us that teach face-to-face as well. So take it away, Amanda.
All right. Well, thank you. All right, I think Corey is going to share the screen with you as she brings that up. She's also going to drop into the chat the URL. If you would like this session, you can make a copy. We've even got a link for the copy. So all you got to do is click that and a link will make a copy for you. So yeah, right down there in the bottom where it says click here to make a copy for yourself. What this does is this allows you to make whatever notes you need without messing up the original slideshow. And so she went ahead and dropped that down into the chat. If you would like to know that little secret of how to do that, you can message us here at the end. Or message Corey or myself here at the end, but that is a neat little trick. That way your students and your learners always have a copy for themselves and they can make notes, but they never mess up yours, which I have found happens from time to time. So I'm giving you a second here to just jump into that slide deck. The reason we want you to have that slide deck, and I know that some of you are on your phones, that's totally fine. But for those of you who are on a device and can get that, the reason is so you can access the links as we go through this session. I do realize that today is the last session of today, and so some of you may be a little tired. It's after lunch, so I do appreciate you hanging out with Corey and I as we finish this out. As you can see down here at the bottom, we're going to talk about 4 different things. We're talking about gamification, collaboration and assignments, authentic assessments, and then we'll have some questions here at the end. And so if you want, they should have it. If not, go ahead and get in the chat. Like Marilee said, I am currently an educational technology specialist. I am a former Edtech coach, instructional technology strategist, a former science teacher. I've been in education for over 16 years. And currently what I do is exactly this. I work with teachers of all levels. So K through 12, but also higher education professors, faculty, and teachers. And I work with them on helping with teaching strategies on in-person, online, everything in between, how to help go from in-person to online, how to use tech tools such as what I'm showing you today to just integrate into your class to make it a little bit more engaging for your students. Joining with me is Corey. Corey, if you were here earlier today, you've already met. She is also a former EdTech coach. She taught computer science and social studies. She's currently with you guys at West Liberty and is actually your instructional designer. So Corey, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello again. I will jump in throughout this.
So Corey and I are by far tag teaming this session today. So every once in a while she'll jump in, I'll jump in. That's mainly just to save our voices. So you don't have to hear just one of us talk, but we're going to tag team this. Feel free at any time. If you have a question, just drop it in chat. Don't wait for the breaks. By the way, there's 2, not 1, 2, because we need a break too. It's a long session, but feel free to drop that down in the chat. If you have a question, don't wait till the end, just drop it in. Corey's running chat, so she will answer it. Corey and I built this together, so she knows the answers. So don't feel that it has to go to me. Corey knows the answers too. How this session is going to work is it is interactive. I know. Some of you are like, bye. No, don't leave. It is interactive. You will enjoy this, okay? The reason is that it's interactive is so you can see what your students would be doing. There are 6 tools that I'm presenting in about 25-minute mini sessions. Feel free, like I said, to make any comments in the chat, good, bad, or ugly. Listen, I taught middle school for 12 years. You cannot hurt my feelings, okay? If you have something that you do not like, you just drop it in. You're not hurting my feelings. We've got 2 breaks built in. And that really just goes on how long you need. If you're like, no, I need 6 minutes, hold on, we will give that to you, okay? So the way this works, this is like speed dating, okay? Not gonna ask if you guys have ever done speed dating, okay? That's a personal question, we'll become friends later, but this is like speed dating from the student's point of view. The reason we're showing you the student's point of view today is so you can determine, is this something that would work for my class? Now, we are not getting into content. I am not being content specific. I do try to make it a little bit for math teachers because I work with math teachers a lot, but we want you to see, is this something that I could see using in my class? Now, the goal is not for you to use all 6. We would really just like for you to find one tool, one. But we're showing you 6 kind of like as an a la carte because maybe you don't like the first 5 I show. If you would like in-depth assistance, I am totally throwing Corey under the bus. Email her. She will show you how to set this up. Okay, you can email me, but I'm in Indiana, so it's going to take a little bit longer. But we will get you set up if you want to know how to do this. So just to really quick let you know, we are not showing you step-by-step how to set up all 6 tools because we don't have until supper tonight to do that. I end at 3. So we are just showing you from the student's point of view. And yes, if you need me to slow down, I will. I do realize I talk like a tobacco auctioneer. So if you need that slowdown, you just say, whoa, okay, because this is my normal speed. So before we get any questions, before we get started, anybody have anything that they would just like to pop off first before we dive in? Nope, that's fine. That was really just my excuse to take a drink of water. All right, here we go. So session objectives, what we are hoping for you to be able to do. Again, do we expect you to know all 6 of these at the end? Absolutely not. Okay, the goal is for you to find one tool that you feel comfortable enough or find beneficial enough that you could possibly use in your course at least once. I'm not saying use this every day. I'm not saying use this every week, but is this something that could be beneficial to your course sometime throughout that syllabus? So we're going to use Kahoot and quizzes for interactive activities. We're going to use Google Jamboard, Padlet, and MindMaster for collaboration and content creation. And then I'm going to explain the benefits of how to use this as an interactive assessment and presentation. So most of these can be done as formative assessments, not summative, but formative. You really want to make it a summative? Okay, but it's really more along the lines of a formative assessment. Show student engagement with Flipgrid, integrate the tools into the instruction and learning management system. So we are, I say we, Corey is going to show you how each of these tools can be used with Sakai, okay? Because I really feel that's the important part. You may like this, but you may sit there and go, how does this work with Sakai? Corey's going to show you that for every single tool. And then we will consider ethical and privacy implications of the tool. All right, so without further ado, gamification. Now I know some of you are like, I don't teach elementary. I get that. I do. I didn't either. Okay. You want me to quit? Put me in kindergarten. I did not teach elementary. But think of it this way as we get started. If you think of your students, and this is something I tell teachers everywhere I go, every school that I work with, and I've worked with schools all across the country. Every student who is basically a junior in high school or below does not know this world without the smartphone. They were born after the smartphone was invented. They don't even know life without an app. None of your students, unless you are teaching a non-traditional student, but if you are teaching a traditional student, anybody from 24 and younger does not know life without video games and YouTube. They were born before that, which makes me feel old because I was like born during Atari, but they don't know this life. And so since that's the way, that's the society that they have lived in, that is the way that they have learned to learn. And so what I have found beneficial when I was in the classroom, what teachers that I have worked with has found beneficial as we start moving towards this is sometimes, not always, but sometimes we need to teach to the way they learn, not always make them learn to the way we teach. So again, not every single content area is like that, but there are some instances. So first thing that we're going to show you is Kahoot. Now, Kahoot has multiple different options. We're going to show you a glimpse into it. It can be completely free. Pretty much everything we show you today is free, okay? Everything free. So don't worry about having any subscriptions coming out of your pocket. It will grade everything for you. It's self-grading. You don't have to grade a thing. It's fantastic. It is pre-made quizzes or course reviews that you can choose, that you can look ahead of time, that you can go in and say, all right, I just want higher education for history. I want higher education for math, whatever it is you're teaching. I mean, we can even get down into specifics of educational foundations or, you know, political science, depending on what it is you teach, or even French. It even goes down to the world languages. So you can choose, you do not have to make, okay? It's kind of like an a la carte. You can just pull from what others have made, build from it, edit it, add to, delete, whatever you need. Then it will grade it for you. It can be played live. So if you're teaching in class, I will let you know when I was in class, I used this all the time because I wanted to know, can we move on? Do they understand it? Quick formative assessment. We played it virtual, okay? When I was a teacher, we'd have snow days. They would just play virtually. Or it could be assigned as homework. So I do realize at a university level, we really don't have homework anymore, but it can be assigned as if you would like to check how you're doing, check your levels of understanding, you can assign it that way and then choose a due date. And then it also includes data by various markers, which we're going to show. So right down here where it says we will play a short Kahoot game, Corey has also dropped that down into the chat, okay? And what it will do is it will look like this. So she hits start. Now, this is the live version. This is not what it takes through the virtual learning. This is the live session. So if you're in person and you would like to do this with your in-person students, okay? And personally, before I did anything online, I always did it with my in-person students. That way I could work out all the little bugs and things like that. So we're going to do a classic mode. And what will happen is it will load a pin. So you are just going to go to www.kahoot.it. Don't go
And
to
you can
.com.
do this, you can do this on your computer, or you can do this on your phone if you got too much going on your screen right now.
Yeah. If you would still like to look at us and play this, feel free to grab a phone.
Now you can go to the website link. You do not have to, there is an app, but you don't have to download that right now. You can go to the version here. We don't care what name you use as long as it's appropriate. That's kind of the parameters I gave classes.
Now here's the other great thing is if they do put in a naughty word, it changes it. So I realize, yes, you are teaching legally adults, but you know, in case they try to be cute and put in a naughty word, I taught 12-year-olds. They always put in naughty words and it would always come up like Bob or Jim. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no naughtiness for you today. Sorry about your luck. So the great thing about this live is you can obviously see who's joining. Now, for the kid who always sleeps in the back with the hoodie because, you know, he came in 10 minutes late and he came in to take a nap, you can just be like, hey, we're waiting on you, man. I can see who's there. That was always a great one for me because I'm like, it kind of encourages them to participate. It's a very passive aggressive way of calling someone out.
So the pin is up there. The pin will be on the bottom corner of the screen once we start for those people who do come in late, but we're going to get started. It's a very short quiz that I used before. The questions are going to appear on the screen and you're going to answer in your window here. What stretches above land steeper than a hill and often forms a peak? Your answers are on the bottom here.
This is a judge-free zone. We will not judge you if you get this wrong. I say that because I did. Listen, I am right there with you. Do not feel like you have to get it right.
There is a timer on this just for game's sake, so everybody got it right. There's the pin number down here if you're still trying to join, and it'll show you the correct answer because you built that. Now this is a competition game, so whether you give, a prize at the end is up to you, but you do get more points for answering faster. So we're going to go to the next question. What is a large body of salt water that makes up most of the earth? Is it a lake, an ocean, a stream, or a river?
Now, as you're answering this on a serious note, you can take the timer away and you can take the leaderboard away. So if you feel that you have students with maybe who have neurodiversity or special education and you feel that would be overwhelming, you can take those options away. Those are all basically optional. That way you don't have your students' anxiety or anything like that popping up because they're like, oh my gosh, I have to answer this because they're only looking at the clock.
And for your students who are always wondering how many more questions there are, it tells you down here on the bottom as a teacher what question you're on, and then you may notice as a student it says 2 of 5 on your screen right now. Question 3. We had some high climbers. Lisa's in the lead, Marilee's in second place. We had some people who jumped on the board. Number 3, a narrow strip of land with water on either side linking 2 larger areas of land. This is a plateau, a butte, an isthmus, or a mountain. This one's a little harder. That is an isthmus, and I got kids with that every time in geography because it's not a commonly used term. Let's see where our rankings are now. Oh, Wendy's on fire, and Wendy's now in the lead. Can Lisa hold on to her score with 2 more questions? A group of items.
There was a question in the chat real quick. Yes, you can create your own. So if you have your own questions that you specifically would like to add for your content, absolutely. But you will find that especially since the last 3 years, everyone across the country has access to this. And so a lot of the questions are already pre-made for you.
That is an archipelago. Let's see how our scores are. Lisa's now in the lead. Can Wendy take her? We have 1 more question. A ring-shaped island.
Ooh.
That is an atoll. And let's see who the winners are.
So this is cool.
Sarah is in 3rd place. Wendy is in 2nd. Did Lisa hang on to her lead? Yes, Lisa won. And then we have runners up, Jenna, and is it Con? I don't know how to say that one.
I'm taking Lisa to B-dubs next time there's trivia. Let me tell you.
Well, and I haven't, want something else. Isn't it archipelago?
It might be, that might be my Hoosier.
I mean, granted, it's been 5th grade when I learned it, and I hate to tell you how many years ago that was.
So what happens when you are done as a teacher? So I'm logged into my teacher account here. You do get some data. So every question was mostly correct. We're going to go look at the full view here. So if you were doing this as kind of like we were doing for fun to just kind of see where students are, you can kind of gauge where they were because you're about to see this data in the report. We had about 83% correct. That would be wonderful as a teacher if all my classes were hitting 83%. It tells you kind of how long it took. We had a couple of people who didn't finish. We can even see question by question how kind of what was the percentage correct. This would help you weed out some of those bad questions. We could see, I don't know if, no, we didn't have any feedback for this one.
You can go to players and it will tell you
Kind of how we were doing. So you could also assign this as, so we did this live. You could do this with a face-to-face class or a live Zoom class. But you could also, I'm going to go back to my account here. You can also do it as an assignment. So they're kind of playing against themselves whenever they need to do that assignment. And so when you have your options to start, oh, I don't want to start that one. You can assign it. So it's kind of like assigning a quiz or homework or whatever. You give them a time they need to finish it by. Here's where you can turn off the timers if you think that's too much pressure, or you want them to kind of think about it, especially if you're asking a higher order question or perhaps a math question. Because I'm on the free version, you can only have 40 people and this assignment, but you could copy it and assign it to another group later. And so you're going to get the same kind of data. And so I've got a bunch that I have made over time, but there's also a worldwide group of people who are making things and sharing things, and you can take and edit just like you do PowerPoints and Google Slides and stuff like that. So there's things organized by grade and subjects and stuff like that. Some of these even have pre-made content from like NASA and National Geographic. There's a huge community of people who are making and sharing things. So if you were to go to, they even have higher education and adult learning, if you wanted to browse that to see if there's anything that you can politely steal. I put my stuff out there for stuff to people to have. But there's all kinds of stuff, even if you just grab kind of a welcome screen and things like that. And we are going to go back to the slide. So you do have apps. Students can play it on a browser, but they can also have the actual app on their things. You have your data, and then you can have longer versions of stuff. And there was a question that you can have questions. Yes. So I have made Kahoots for people where it was a formula and I took the timer off so the students could process and do the math, and then we'd see, you know, kind of how they did it. And so in that kind of case, you keep your total questions short so you can kind of assess between each question, like who got it right and how did they get to it, and sort of that learning community atmosphere. Are you ready for the next tool?
Well, real quick, does anyone have, I know we had a couple of questions. One of the questions was, can you do this in group? And the answer is not in the free version. And we really try to show you everything in the free version, only because unless you plan on using this daily or multiple times in a week, there's really not a reason to pay the money for this. Like the free version will definitely get what you will need for your courses. Even Corey used this in her class. I used this when I was teaching. You know, both of us had 100+ students, 7 classes a day, and we still weren't paying for it. Like we didn't need it, using it multiple times. And so you can't do groups with that. And can questions be images? Absolutely. So she was talking about math. You could just show the image of a formula, or you could just put a formula, take a screenshot of the formula. The same thing can be done for a lot of your classes. So if you're in music theory, you could take a picture of a, you know, part of a composer. You could have different parts of countries if you're doing world languages or things like that, and have them put it into phrases. You could even with English, you know, tell the different personas. I mean, just different things that you can do with images that really you can just screenshot. Like you're not having to make it fancy. And all of this will come through. And the great part about this is there is an app. And I would encourage students to do that as well. And I encourage teachers to have that. I'm like, listen, if your students are in an area that may not have Wi-Fi, that phone works. They figure out how to make that phone work. Okay, they are not giving up TikTok. They will be somewhere where they can get them some TikTok. So if you have that app, they can quickly do it right there on their phone, and it's convenient, and all of the data comes to you. And then I know that many of you went through the AI session earlier today. This is a great way to kind of just get away and around AI. You know, they're not AIing these questions. One, especially if you put a timer on it, there's not time to go to Chat GPT to find the answer to this if they've only got 15 seconds to answer the question. And you can change the order of the questions. You can change the order of the answers because they'll try to memorize it. You can also just be like, I'm not showing you the correct answer. You got it wrong. Try again. I did that all the time as well. So real quick, before we move on to the next, does anyone have a question about how this works or how this would work with students?
I have a quick question. I found that I don't let my students use technology in the classroom unless they're using like a pad thing that they write on, like write out their notes. I just found that in the past, it's just way too distracting. The opportunity to look at their phones or their computers and, you know, watch a movie or whatever they want to do is just, you know, it's too inviting. I just was just kind of wondering, like, people who have used this, do you find that maybe it's better for that reason to have them use this at home and to answer questions, and then maybe not refrain from using it in the classroom? Or do you find that overall it seems to work even if they get a little bit sidetracked on their phones or something?
Well, Amanda and I have fought the phone battle, and at middle school is when they're getting phones, although there are first and third graders who have phones now. The official policy was you weren't supposed to have phones out, but we knew they were hiding them wherever. And so I was kind of the Gestapo when it came to that. Like, I was on them like white on rice. Like, I know what you're doing. I'm walking around. I'm like all over you. But if I was doing stuff like this, they had a reason to pay attention to me, and they had a reason to use the technology for a purpose. And they didn't have time to do their TikToks in class, because it's amazing how just a little competition can light some people. They get really competitive over something that doesn't really matter. But I was very adamant about, I will give you a reason to use technology, but it's going to be on my terms. I want you to do this, and I'm going to nail you if you're off task. So, but I mean, you do lose the battle sometimes, and it does happen. So I try to give them a reason, a purpose to do it, I guess. But I also modeled it. I wasn't thinking around with my device on stuff either. So I tried to live what I was preaching.
Yeah, and going off what Corey was saying, what I would do is I would just basically tell them up front and be like, all right, we are going to use this. If you abuse it, you lose it. Like, if you are not going to do what we ask, and like Corey was saying, the leaderboard is very much incentive. You'd be amazed. I mean, I worked with high school seniors in honors classes last year, and they were taking dual credit classes, and we'd pull up a Kahoot, and all of a sudden they became kindergartners again. They're like, oh, we're playing. Like, it's, you know, that's why Jeopardy is so popular, because there is that little bit of competitiveness and things like that. And so I would make it very clear, be like, all right, we're going to use this for this purpose. And you can see how many are on. So like I was saying, you can see who's on, who's not. You can see, I don't know if you were watching, but on the teacher side, when Corey was showing, it tells you how many is answered. So if you have 15 in the class and only 12 are answering it, you can just call them. You can be like, oh, I still need 3 more to answer. And so it also has that little bit of accountability. It's also nice to have a formative assessment that automatically grades it for you, tells you which questions were wrong. It gives you the data to figure out which question they struggled with the most. And you didn't have to put a whole lot of prep time into it. and it's engaging for them because it is meeting them, like we were saying, kind of in what they're used to. And so, yeah, we both teetered on the when do we use tech, when do we not use tech. But when we would bring it out, I mean, we made it very clear. These are the parameters, these are the boundaries.
And this next tool is a little bit more assignment-like, where you would
Yes.
give it to them on their own.
Yes.
So quizzes does essentially the same thing as Kahoot, but it has a few little differences. One is it's students can go through those questions on their own.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to,
Hold on, go back for a second. Go back for just a second. So real quick, so going off of that, this can be on your phone or the computer. Corey and I both use Kahoots in class, and we use quizzes outside of class. Quizzes is very much like this. You can totally embed the questions, make the quizzes, everything like that. She just dropped that into your chat. This does give you a little bit more data, and it gives you a little bit better data, and it allows you, it has like, I feel a better assigning tool than a live tool. Kahoot is a little bit more fun live, and quiz is a little bit more entertaining outside. So go ahead, Corey, sorry.
so I'm launching a live version. You're going to go to joinmyquiz.com. There's going to be a code here in just a moment. There it is, the 029689. Because we're not in a class and I haven't assigned this to you, you get to kind of use your name here. You see people coming up.
Now, if you can also see, you can also join via QR code if you would like. Now, if you do assign this and put the link in Sakai, it just takes them right into the game. They don't have to join, they don't have to wait on you, like it automatically takes them right in, and they can do this multiple times. So for myself, I would tell them that they needed to get at least an 85%. So if they got a 40% the first time, I'd be like, nope, go back in, reattempt. And it will show you how many times that they have attempted to play it, just to kind of give you an idea. So once you have enough people in, kind of the same thing. This is the live version, but it looks exactly the same. It's very similar to Kahoot. So she's going to hit start. So the only difference is it's all on your end on this one. The questions on your end, the answers are on your end, but it's very much the same as far as the faster you can do it, the faster you can answer the questions, the more points you get. So, and I don't know if it's turned on or not, but if you're also after each question, there's also an option to have memes come up and tell you like, good job. And if you get it wrong, they're all like, oh man. I would recommend the first time doing that maybe, but after that, maybe turn it off because those memes get really distracting. That's another rabbit hole students will go down pretty fast. As you can see up at the top, if you play it live, the code is always up there for maybe a kid who lost Wi-Fi, their power went out, they came in late, whatnot. You can pause the game. So if you want to talk to them, to be like, whoa, every single one of you just missed this question. Hold on, pause. You have the option to pause. So question is, how does it know the correct drawing? all of that is kind of like pre-populated in the back end on the teacher side. You tell it and you feed it the information on the back side on the teacher's end. So you can see on average how many people took to answer this question. So it took 24 seconds.
So we have the similar finish line like we did before. And we're going to go to data here, which kind of shows that there was some mastery of some of these questions, which is what you want to see. Oh, I want to just do results. And so you can kind of see by questions how they're doing. We did pretty good because hopefully you remember the last 5 questions and how much time they're spending on a question. So if maybe they're stumped, they're taking too long, you know, they're getting it wrong, you know, that's where you need to go back and do some instruction. If they're breezing through things, maybe you can move on to that section and get further ahead in your course. And if you wanted to review questions because there was such a low mastery level, you could do that. So everything grades for you, except for, you know, the stuff that kind of draws up, that stuff's a little bit more higher level, but you don't have to grade and you can kind of immediately know where you need to hit some answers. And I think we can see some people's answers of how they drew. So someone in the chat's mentioning about drawing types of cells. Yeah, if you were drawing some sort of basic label components, you can kind of see where everybody did. So we did, most of everybody got the cardinal, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the north, south, east. We have some that are labeled, some that aren't. And so you kind of have that instant accuracy of where you need to put your instructional time. When we go back to the data board, we have similar questions here. You know, how much time, how accurate. We have, you know, questions by answers and whether it was poor. We could see it this way. If you wanted to tag, I mean, that's an advanced feature there. You can download this and print. If you wanted to assign as something in your LMS. So I'm going to go back to this next slide here. So this is looking at Kahoot and quizzes and what it could look like if you were to use this in Sakai, which is West Liberty's LMS. So if you were going to use Kahoot or quizzes in a live face-to-face course or a Zoom course hybrid like this, you could make this a participation activity. So you're giving students the link, you're telling them which one they're going to go to and you know, get with it. You could have them have accounts. You wouldn't have to if you were doing it like we were, but you could make it a link that somebody can access on the device that they have in class with them. If you wanted to do this remotely, where your students are not face-to-face and they're not in real time with each other, then you do this as a complete activity in Sakai. So you still have the link, you tell them when the deadline is, you make that match in the Kahoot or quizzes setting, that it's going to shut off at that point. So for example, in quizzes, you have to give them the code obviously to get to it. And here's the link to help them, because anything that helps them get there faster is better, because they may not remember the joinmyquiz.com link. And because you got that data graded for you, if you do want to use it in the grade book as something towards their grade, you can take that data you had here and just manually type it into the placeholder you have in the gradebook of Sakai.
All right. Does anyone have any questions about how to put it in Sakai? What that would look like? Does anyone have any questions over quizzes or Kahoot? Feel free to unmute, anything like that. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay, as promised, breaks breaks are our friends. So we're going to take about a 5-minute break. So if you need to mute your camera, go to the bathroom, get a drink, get a Tylenol, whatever you need. If we just totally blew your minds right there, please come back. We got more. But take a moment to catch your breath. If you do have any questions, like I said, just drop them into the chat and we will come back at 1:46. All right, we're going to get ready to get started here. So as everybody's trickling back in, that's fine. But I do want to be respectful of your time. So we're going ahead and get on moving. All right, the next section, the first part was gamification. This next section is collaboration and assignments. And so again, what we're trying to do is also not just show you tech tools, but also show you different ways that your students can be engaged. But I also know that AI is a big part of the forefront of what many of you are probably talking about. It's something that I talk about with teachers every single day. So these are also ways for students to give information and basically kind of get around from using AI, like putting their own personal perspectives into it. So this first thing that we're talking about is Jamboard. Jamboard is a Google tool. It is completely free. All you need is a Google account. And Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the West Liberty account and a Google account? So yeah, this works right along with the West Liberty account. Everything that you build and share automatically goes into your Google Drive, so you don't have to worry about making a copy of it. You don't have to worry about storing it or where it's stored. And it can be shared with any other person with a Google account, regardless of how many different accounts. So it can be within West Liberty if you want to share it with other professors, things like that. There is a limit of 20 frames per jam. And so a jam is basically the website that we will be going to, and you can add up to 20 frames, and you can have 50 collaborators simultaneously going at this. That means that they have editing access and they can create an ad. Once you are done, if you want students to use this afterwards, or maybe this is another assignment where you're like, we're not going to do this in class, we're going to do this outside of class, they can download it as a PDF or an image, and they can upload that into their Sakai. If you do it in class, you can also have them edit it as a PDF or an image and share it with you that way. There are ideas for math, anatomy, metacognition, foreign languages, all of that here in the sample Jamboards that we have. Corey did go ahead and drop that down into the chat for you. So if you click on that link, and Corey's going to bring it up to show you what that looks like. Oh, there you go. So there's your Jamboard link. Click on the one that has Jamboard, a whole bunch of letters, and that at the end says sharing. So this is just like every other Google tool. So if you've ever used a Google Docs, a Google Slide, a Google Sheets, anything like that, this is very similar to that. You can see who all joins up at the top. And so this could easily be done and used as an exit ticket or a formative assessment. So you could create something that says, what do you think about the role of the Socratic seminar? And so what you would do is, if you love it and use it, maybe someday, not for me, all you got to do is basically click on the image. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to join too. You click on this and you just make a copy. Just click on it and then you'll be like, not for me. Okay. And it's a quick and easy way that they can show. So as you can see, the directions are: click on the emoji that best describes your attitude, click the 3 dots, select duplicate, then move your emoji. So you can be like, negative. Okay. Another quick way is pros and cons. So if you wanted to have a debate, okay. So say you wanted to have any type of debate. Now, I will say, if you want to have a debate, you are much braver than I am. I also taught 12-year-olds, so the biggest debate we had was what kind of Pop-Tarts to have. But if you wanted to have some type of debate over something you're talking about, what you do is, so Corey's going to show it over here. you have this toolbar. This is the only toolbar. I will let you know this is the smallest toolbar in all of Google. I am a certified Google trainer, so I can tell you this is the smallest options you're going to have. You just click on that sticky note. You write whatever you want. You can click the color, you hit save, and it pops out as Corey's showing you. So then you can just move it. So real quick, Corey, let's show them how to get to the next frame. So they were on, go back to the first frame. They were up here. So if you want, you can see that it's 1 out of 12. All you have to do is either click on it, or you can click on it, or what you can do is you have the arrows going left and right, and that helps you move from one slide to the next. So if we go back here to 2, what you can do is, again, you just go over here to the sidebar, okay? Hit the sticky note. And then hit cancel, and then you can move it around. The third one is a Venn diagram of compare and contrast, where you can type the sticky note and the color. The fourth one is writing expansion, what she's showing you right now. So click a sticky note and use APA citations for each question of collecting evidence reflections. The fifth one is an analysis. So the sixth one is a team project management. There's a math one. There's a couple of different math ones. There's a science one, or here comes the sun, different science ones. And then a couple of document analysis. What we're going to do is, instead of making you like wait on each person, what we're going to do is we're going to give you about 7 minutes. So we're going to give you until 2 o'clock, because it is 1:53. We're going to give you through 2 o'clock. As she showed up here at the top, you can either click the duplicated screens, or you can click the frame arrow to see which ones you want to go through. We're going to give you a few minutes till 7 o'clock or till 2 o'clock, so 6 minutes. Go through and just see what options there are. Find something that fits your content area, your courses, okay? Because as we said, all of you will have different needs. Your students have different needs. So instead of us going through, you choose what you need, and in 6 minutes we'll come back and answer any questions you have. So time is yours. Feel free to go through, kind of play around, figure out what it is. Corey's putting an answer on everything just so you can kind of see what it would look like, and then we will come back.
So we're going to show you what this would look like. So we tried to give you a bunch of different content areas of examples that you could have. But you could just have one frame, one jam, and that's an assignment or a group activity. So if you want some more versions of stuff, I've found some things on the internet of some higher level things that people have used. But if you were to do this in Sakai as a class activity, and you had a face-to-face class or a live session like what we're doing now, you could make it a participate. So it's kind of hard to grade something like this. It's a sort of a collaboration tool that kind of you could use in lieu of a traditional discussion or a traditional forum. So here's an example of using the SWOT example, where you have a group of students in Sakai, you assign them the specific thing, they need to do a SWOT of a company or their group or whatever their situation is. You give them a link to the Jamboard. So in the Jamboard, the owner, just like any other Google Doc, it's private until you share it. So you could get anyone with the link and make sure that they can edit it. And that link goes into your hyperlink in Sakai, so they can get it because it's a live page. In this situation, no one is submitting anything in Sakai. It's just go out and do this. And you can see the activity as the instructor because you're the owner of the Jamboard. And then give them a due date of when to do stuff. And then you can kind of create a rubric based on whatever it is you want them to do. That you have the criteria and the level descriptions. And then that would be how you would assess them if you were to do this as a graded assignment in Sakai. If you were to give a Sakai to someone, kind of like a worksheet in a way, you could have them make a copy of your template. So you could make something where they're, when you're in a Google Doc, and you go to the link, your link is usually has something like this, but a little hack is if you delete this part and type copy, you give that new link to someone, it will force them to open up in a Google account and then it saves a version for them. So it's kind of like how you're giving them a copy of something. So you could do that of whatever it is. Say they were going to if they had to do something like this or label this, that one jam, that one link with the forced copy would be, they would make a copy, they do their work, it saves it automatically, then they can download it as a PDF and then submit it in Sakai just like they would any other assignment. So those are two ways of what this would look like in Sakai and various ways you can use it.
So as you're thinking about this real quick, let's go back to Jamboard real quick. Does anyone have any questions or anything like that? Or just curious, because can anybody see how they could use this in their course? Again, this is not an everyday thing. This is not none of these tools are everyday. I don't want you to feel like any of these tools are, oh my goodness, this is just one more thing. These are thinking outside of traditional teaching the box of how can you get your students to interact. Again, how to make it personable and relatable to them. Things that they can't go to ChatGPT or Bard or Bing Chat or whatever 50 new AI tools are coming out next week. They can't go to those and be like, what's the answer to this? Because it's relatable to what you're doing in class. The other thing is it does make them be a little bit more participant. You know, they're not, when Corey showed you how to make a copy, yes, usually they see everybody's answers, unless they all make a copy. And then you only see their answer, because you're definitely always going to have that one kid that goes, ditto. You know, they're always going to have that one kid that goes, I agree with Sarah. So this gets that outside of it. It does allow them to insert pictures. So Corey, will you go back to the Google Jam itself, please, just so we can show them? So, like as they can add images here, they can go and add an image. So if they can't explain it, they can find an image. So yeah, if they're like, it's the mitochondria, there's a picture of the mitochondria. They can add their own image inside to explain. So then you can also flip it around and be like, all right, show me an image of the cell organelle that is storing energy, or the vacuole, which one I used to call it, like kind of like the trash can, and things like that. And if nothing else, I will let you know, one way I used this was I used it for pure SEL purposes. This was my check-in. How are you doing today? Like the whole image of the frowny face, the sad face, things like that. Just a quick check-in. How are we doing today? Like, how are you feeling? What kind of day is it? Because not everybody is knocking it out of the park every single day. So on the very first slide, how's your day going? Just how is life? That gives you pretty much a really good understanding of how your students are feeling. Maybe they're sick. Maybe something else happened. Maybe they bombed the class that they just came from. Maybe they slept through the class that they were supposed to come from. Whatever's going on. And so that just also lets them know that you care about their well-being. So it's also in-person, virtual, quick SEL, if nothing else, or exit ticket, or just formative assessment. How do you feel about this? Can we move on? So just quick little tips like that of things that you can use a Jamboard for. And again, this is all free. It goes through your Google tools. So yes, one of the questions was, can the operator see who writes which answer? Absolutely. You can see all of that just like all the other Google tools.
Corey and Amanda,
Yeah.
what about, so, we create master courses for a lot of our online courses. So if a faculty member say we create a Jamboard for something in XYZ course.
Mhm.
How does that, is that something that we need to do new every time? How does that part of it work?
So what could happen is you can make what's called a template slide or template jam. And as Corey just showed you, make it to where the end says copy. So when they click on that, so when she gets that copy link and she puts it up here, it automatically, so she's showing, see how it says sharing? Take that part off and just write copy. And that would be the link that would be in your master course. So when that professor makes a new course, you would put somewhere in the description, make a copy using this link for a new Jamboard. It would automatically make a copy for that professor. And then they're basically just creating a duplicate of the template. So just like they're making a duplicate off the master course, they're also making a duplicate off that jam.
So the reason I asked that question is that some of these tools, are going to require some active participation on the faculty in order to make the copy, to set up the new class, those sorts of things. This won't necessarily happen automatically. They're not connected enough to Sakai and I just want to forewarn folks, if they're thinking about using them here, it's going to require a little setup on your part. These things aren't going to happen automatically if you use the same things from term to term.
Yeah.
Because we've had issues in the past with faculty who will want to do all of these great things in their course, but then the course gets passed off to somebody else and they're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to put some instructions in somewhere. You kind of have to give a little setup. So if you're thinking about developing a master course either here or somewhere else, you just keep that in mind, that you're going to have to put some instructions in somewhere to help that second faculty member, possibly that third faculty member who ends up teaching with kind of the course setup.
Yes. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? We feeling good? All right. Here is, I'm gonna let Corey explain. Sakai, did you go over that one?
I did go over that one, yeah, so here's where that force copy link to make a copy into somebody else's Google account would be.
Mhm.
And so most of these tools, you're linking out to somewhere else, but there is a little bit set up you'd have to do.
So the next one is called Padlet. Padlet allows you to, it's kind of like a discussion board, but you have more capabilities with it. So if you're wanting to kind of like dip your toes in the EdTech tools, but you don't want to like really, go too far into the water yet, you're just kind of testing it. Padlet is a really good tool to try that for, because it's very similar to the collaborative discussion boards that you're probably already using. It's good for group projects and assessments. It's really good for brainstorming. So Corey dropped that down in there for you. We have different resources for you to get this or to use more. So what this is Corey gave a suggestion. So cultural characteristics of place, language, building, religions, holidays, etc. So what you would do is she has these different things. So name a country in the official language. So what she did, she's typing right now. All she did was she clicked the plus sign. So as you can see right here, name a country and a major religion. She clicked the plus sign, the box appeared. Now she can just type something, or as she's showing you, you can search for an image, you can take a photo, you can add a link. Things like that. You can upload. Maybe it's I can't draw. That's fine. We can add GIFs. You can add an animated GIF. You can add memes. Like your students have some possibilities. So if they wanted to really get technical, they could add the image of something. So what they do is we're going to let you try this out again from a student's perspective. So all you're doing is you're hitting the plus sign, and then you're checking out the tools or the options you have available for adding a post. Again, if you wanted to give it a subject, you can write something as an option, add a photo, take a photo, links, you can do all of those. So we're going to give you a moment just to kind of play around with that, just so you can kind of see how this would work.
There's actually 2 different Padlets you could try.
Okay.
This one is calling back to the quizzes and Kahoot we did on landforms, where you're trying to find a picture and identify something at the same time. So you could do this with like parts of a cell, parts of body, parts of, quantum leap computer. There are all kinds of things that you could do. So there are actually 2 that you could be playing with for a few minutes.
I think most people answered in the first one, Corey.
Or the first one, okay. Oh, the video.
So as you can also see, some of you answered anonymously. So on your thing, it says anonymous. You can do that. So that does give you a little bit more privacy. Now, the downside to that is even the owner cannot see who wrote it. It's anonymous to the owner. So the instructor, it would also be anonymous. So just giving you kind of that heads up. So,
And if you have the copy of the presentation on your device, any picture or video, you can, like, everything has some kind of hyperlink to where stuff is. So this is actually a blog post of somebody called Matt Miller. He's actually a really phenomenal guy. We had him at our school, but he has 20 ways to use Padlet, and he has a whole blog of all kinds of stuff he does. These are some examples of like having a timeline or, you know, drawing, connecting ideas. So you could do some of these visual things in a different way that are a little more higher order thinking. And then this one is where you have quite a bit of stuff. So I've tried to pull examples other people have done that are a little bit higher order thinking that you could use to create your own or steal from. And in this video, I didn't want to show the video. If you were to use this as in Sakai, so you would have a link just like you would a Jamboard. So it's something you're doing live with the students, or you're doing on a live Zoom where they're actively throwing stuff together. They're actively all involved in the same one. So you need to make sure that it's linked so somebody can get it. And each Padlet has its own thing here, and I'm not signed in, but you can set some parameters if you want anyone to have access to it, just people that you gave access to. Since it is free, and I always use the free version, you get a limited number. So a way to work around that is to do a Padlet for a class, then you can wipe everything off except your instructions and then reuse it again. So I kind of gotten around not paying to have a whole bunch of Padlets, but I really reused what I had. So I kind of kept it focused. And so if you were doing this in Sakai as a live activity, students aren't submitting anything in Sakai, they're doing it there. So you're kind of going and judging, you know, how, if you had a rubric, how much participation, what were you looking for, how many posts, how accurate it was, or something like that. That's where those rubrics really come into play. So are there any questions? We do have another break scheduled for you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? We do have a 5-minute break, so you need to go get some more caffeine. We'll be right back.
All righty. We got two tools left. So let's go ahead and get going. The last two tools we're going to talk about is with authentic assessments. Again, a free tool, we're talking about MindMaster. It is kind of a flowchart tool or digital brainstorm. You don't run out of space, which is nice. I know some of them are like, oh, you're limited. This one, sky's the limit. You can rearrange your bubbles. You can have a clean appearance, can collaborate, use hyperlinks, use images. We do have on here, if you have the slide deck, a couple of ways that you can use this, and they're all hyperlinks. So for writing purposes, event planning, note taking, even UX design, meeting agendas, onboarding, anything like that that you may have. Corey has dropped down into the chat the MindMaster that we are actually going to be editing. And West Liberty does have a template language for their activities in Sakai. So if you go ahead and click on the link that Corey dropped into the chat, what it looks like is coming up. It's basically, this format itself is a mind map. It also has the option to do an outline, but this is what you do. So you click on something, so you put an idea in, is what you would do. And then you click on it, okay? And then you can either tab to create a child or enter to create a sibling, okay? And then you can just build off of that. So I'm gonna do tab. And you can add off of that. Then you also have options to do, as Corey was showing, you can do a connection, you can do a comment, a note, a task, an attachment, media, you can drag and drop, you can use emojis and icons, because let me tell you, that's how your learners be loving to learn now, is through emojis. So you can be like, woo. And they can go through and add to it kind of as a mind map. So we're going to let you play around with that for a few minutes. Feel free. Now, I will let you know, you all have editing access to this. So this is sometimes the catalyst of what's either going to go really well or what's going to go wrong, is you all have editing access, but you want your students to collaborate. You want them to learn with one another. And again, this is one of those things that helps your students. They're not AI in this, like they are, you're seeing it right here. So go ahead, feel free to play around with it. As Corey showed you, you can add images, emojis, different things, build off of it. So we're going to give you an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Hey, does this limit you on how many you can sign in if you're not signed in? Because I just ran into that with the squash.
Let's see.
Because I'm probably on here as a guest.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want that.
I didn't log in. Let's
Okay.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe there might be.
Okay. I'm not even
I'm
gonna.
gonna log in on another window here.
Yeah. Okay.
It's possible I could have set a limit.
Yeah.
A lot of these tools do have to where you can put modifications on it. So you can set limits and things like that. That way, not outside sources or basically people outside of your class are coming in and participating or doing the work for the students who should be doing the work themselves.
Okay. Ooh. I think I managed to. Okay. You have to hit like the 3 dots and then add more. I think I'm just about done with it though. Oh, tacos, of course. Someone would put one of my favorite food groups.
Tacos are their own food group. Like that is
They
its
are.
own.
Yeah, they are.
All right, as you're playing around with this, anyone have any questions? Or anyone, like I said, as the thing just popped up as you come into it, you can choose different formats. So you can do a line, you can do outlines, you can do a mind map like this. I mean, there are options for you. This is just one sample that we wanted to show you. Also in the spreadsheet, or I'm sorry, the Google Slides, we also have examples for you that way of how to specifically use it for writing, UX design, note-taking, all of that. So it kind of gives you those visuals if you're wanting to see how to use it a little bit more in your classroom of what that could be like. So this would be, for example, you know, if you have students working with partners or groups and they're trying to mind map it out and build it out, this is a great way for them to all do it either in person or even online. But that way they can all build, and it's not just a general outline of A, you know, or Roman numeral 1, A, 1, 2, B, 1, 2, Roman numeral 2. So it gives kind of that more visual alignment to their thinking and their mind mapping.
And if you find some really great ones, because like all the other tools, there are people who are putting out their work for others to share. You can take them, like this guy has some, you can search by topics or, you know, subject area. You can take it and then edit from it. So it's very easy to start with something on the page rather than a blank page.
Mhm.
And so there's several ones that I found that were pretty good here. You can also click on the images and they're linked to where I got them. And if you want some more detailed stuff, because the session isn't really how to use it very deeply, but how to set up your stuff here. So if you were using this in writing class or business classes, there are ways. So when we say it doesn't run out of space, you know, if you have a document or a piece of paper, you physically have a limited space. But on these, they can kind of keep going and going. So if your brainstorm isn't really limited in that way, so you can really have a group really go to town on that one. And so a way this could look like in MindMeister, because I've had some faculty use it. So this is a screenshot of what it looked like in Sakai. So they were in the class, it was a diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. And so when they were reading a chapter in a book, and then they kind of had to think out what they thought about the book and organize their understanding of it in some kind of mind chart. And so we gave them the instructions of, you know, how, through the resources, complete one to organize your thoughts, use visuals. And then we gave them instructions on the students can go create their free account with Google with their, you know, WLU address. And then it gave them an example of what a flow chart would look like with the parents and the child and the siblings and things like that. And you can do arrows and point back to something else and kind of tie it all together. And so we gave them a visual of what it could look like. And then what they would do when they were done was they would download this as an image, and then they attach it and submit it in Sakai like they would a Word doc or anything else. So the instructor was grading images of their learning because it was something very unique to each student.
Does anyone have any questions on Mind Masters? We did have one question that's, can it be copied? Yes, can be copied, edited, anything like that. And like Corey was saying, a lot of individuals have already built a lot of templates. So if you're doing a literature class, you could do it on a family and how everything's tied together, and or the main characters of a story. You can do it for this. It's a lot of different things of, you know, like what my expertise area is. You could do history with different causes and effects of wars and everything that played together. Science, you know, I could see how this could be done as a former science teacher of the different parts of the cell, like we were talking about, and how does that all connect back, or chemistry, lots of different ways this can be used. And again, the students have to put it together. ChatGPT is not building this for them. So again, going back to their knowledge of using how it would work.
And there's some examples of like, especially when students have projects, like how are they going to roll out a presentation, or they were building a project for, you know, a pretend business, how would they roll out their marketing and who would do what? And so there's a lot of stuff you could do here, and especially for online classes where the students don't have a giant board with sticky notes that they would do in person in a traditional way, they can do here. And it's visual, so you have the text, so you have people who can read and process information, but you also have a visual, the big overview of how everything's going together. So our last tool of the day.
Our last tool, you guys have made it. Look at that. We are down to the last tool. All right, so last tool of the day is a tool, again, that is free. Is a great formative assessment tool, giving feedback. If you allow the setting, you can give peer-to-peer feedback, or you can do it individually. It's very hard to cheat on this one, which is fabulous. And this really relates to your students as far as what they love to do. This allows them, it's called Flip. And this allows them to make videos. It is short videos that they can do either from their device or their phone. So I am going to share my screen. So I'm going to take over. All right, so all of you should be able to see my screen now. So again, this is a great way for your students. I'll move you guys over here. For your students to use their phones. The app is really quick. I use this quite a bit with students when we would have snow days. I especially use this when we first used COVID, because I still wanted students to be very active. I also wanted them to see each other. Like I wanted them to be able to see each other. Plus, if you notice, most people now have a phone and love to take pictures and videos, like TikTok is so popular. So this gives them that opportunity to make a short video. So what they would do is, if you clicked on the link, you may need to sign in. You shouldn't have to, but there is the possibility you would need to sign in, but you shouldn't have to. So let me move all my stuff over here that's distracting me. And so what would happen is you would create what is called a group. Okay, so I've called this one West Liberty University. And then I have a couple of topics. So my first topic is an introduction. So you would have this set up and your students would click on it. So they would click on the introduction and it tells them what to do. Now, if you really want to get snazzy, you can record yourself how to record. Like if you really wanted to up your game, you can make a recording of yourselves telling them. But if you're like, No, you can just write it out. So this one is, please take a few minutes to introduce yourself and the other members of the course. Include some information about yourself, as maybe your hometown, your hobbies, your interests. Tell us about your expectations for the course, any previous experience related to the course, and finally share a piece of trivia about yourself. What they do is then, as you can see, Corey was my guinea pig, so I had Corey do this. What they can do is they can click record, or you can see how many times it's been made, how many times it's seen, how many comments it's been. So like, click on this one, you can see when it was made, everything like that, what the comment is. So what students would do is, and I'm not sure this will work on my end because I'm in Zoom as well, but they would hit record. Is it going to allow it? See if it does. It may not, because when we were playing around with this earlier, it wouldn't allow it to, oh, there we go. Look at that. That is what's actually behind me. That is not actually my living room you see in my Zoom. This is what's really behind me. Now I'm embarrassed. All right, so you can create, you can make a video, you can do audio. You can change the backdrop, which I'm going to do right now so you don't see my messy desk. Okay, you can be underwater. Like, you can let them get creative just like in Zoom, or just like in TikTok. You can just do audio. So for those who are like, I'm not showing my face, that's fine. They have the option to text something. So if they wanted to put something, you know, up, and maybe they want to write something, they can write something. They can choose the background of that. Okay. Come on, I want to move you. There we go. We can move it. Another thing they can do is they can scribble, they can draw, they can add a sticker. I know some of you are like, I will never use this. That's fine. You don't, I'm just showing you some options that they can do. They can add a GIF, because what tech tool is complete without now adding a GIF, because everything can add a GIF. You can add a filter. The nice thing is you can actually add a whiteboard. So if you wanted to do graphing for math, you can add a whiteboard. If they needed to add different things for a whiteboard at all, they could do that. So this would be a really good way for them to share their ideas. And then they could also add an image. So they can pull a photo up, so they can be like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the video I'm making. This is what I'm showing. So then they would hit, oh, they can also, of course, add emojis. Because again, no tech tool is complete without GIFs and emojis at this point in life. So then they can, 3, 2, 1. My name's Amanda. I live in Indiana. I like to garden. And there is only one stoplight in my entire county. And that is a true statement. There are just as many Amish as there is non-Amish where I live. Now, if you don't like it, you can retake it. You can redo, you can clear, you can get rid of all this stuff. But then you hit next. My name's Amanda. I live in Indiana. You can add music. Okay. You can split it. You can edit it. They can download it. They can add a sticky note. Okay. Caption, link, all of this, and then they post. Woo, it's shared. So now here is the third one. Why is this? Sometimes your students are better at explaining it than writing it. I don't know about you, but I've had students who would come up to me and be like, Mrs. Alford, can I tell you something? And I'd be like, really quickly. And then they would go on for about 10 minutes telling me about one little thing. But if I had them write it, they would write it in 2 sentences. Sometimes they need to express it verbally. Because if I would ask them, I would say, hey, tell me about Newton's second law. It was the second one. It has an F and an M and an A. What order? But if I was to say, give me an example of Newton's second law, You know, when in football, and they could go on and on about how when in football, the little receiver can take down the big linebacker if he's running really fast, even though the linebacker has more mass, the wide receiver has more acceleration, and they could go on and explain this. But they can't do it written. They need to do it verbally. This allows them to do this. This also allows them to show themselves. When we were doing rocks and genealogy or geology, I would have students go out and be like, show me what is in your area. Show me the geology of your environment. And they can do that with this. And they can make little comments. So then what you can do, and so just because I showed it, I'm also showing Corey's. We're in this together.
My name is Corey and I like to garden.
Okay, she also likes to garden. What she's not telling you is she also likes for me to garden because then she takes my canned goods. Okay, that's what she likes. She likes me to bring her salsa. So what she can do is you can add a comment. You can make it public. You can make it private. You can also record a response to it. Now, here's the great part to all of this. What you can do is, so let me go up here, edit topic. You can add all of this on the teacher side. So I can, minimum or defaults 2 minutes. You can go all the way to 10 minutes. I don't know why you would want to watch that many 10-minute videos, but you can if it really needs explanation. Most of them can do it in under 10 minutes or under 2 minutes. So if you want them to explain, how is something that happened in a history class you're teaching related, how is the Great Depression now related to today's society? Explain what rationing was like. If you want to explain business ideas and you want them to give a pitch, a marketing pitch, they can record themselves doing that. They don't have to be in class to do it. But then you go here to settings and you can choose moderator member activity. This means you have to watch it first before anybody else can see it. That way you have that one student who wants to show off that you're like, I don't know if I want them to all see that response because I know what they say in class. You can moderate it. You can close caption it. You can choose whether or not to allow them to have comments. If you're like, no, we're not playing the comment game. You don't have to. They don't have to be able to like it. You don't have to show view count. You don't have to download and share. You don't have to give them gifts if you're like, I'm not into gifts. Okay, no sticky notes, no gifts, no nothing. Just them and the camera. Go for it. I want to be able to check off every single one of them. I don't want them to do this. I want a due date. Sounds good. Closed captions. You can make all of that, and then you have more control over what's going on. Okay, this is a great way to do introductions. This is a great way for them to, like I said, I had students do this all the time because I found that most of my students were more likely to indulge verbally telling me something than they ever were to write it. And again, I was a big proponent on thinking outside the box because let me tell you, my students would Google the answers every single day if they could. If they could go to Google, and this was before AI, I mean, they would just straight up look up the answers. I didn't want that. I wanted to know from their perspective. This allows them to do this. And then I know, is it authentic? I would say, how does this relate back to what we're talking about in class or what you read about in class or what we did in class or the lab we did, because I was a science teacher. And this allows it to be a more authentic assignment. Again,
And if you go back to our slides, there's an example of what this looks like in Sakai. Go 2 more slides.
I got you. Is that
Next
it?
slide.
Next slide. There we go.
So often a lot of our courses, especially our online courses, have usually the introductory discussion is who are you, what are you here for and stuff. So this would be a great way because you put an actual face and name and voice together and some of that student presence in their class. But you can also use it as an assignment. So like Amanda said, if you read this module's materials, now explain, something about it in your own words because you don't have AI to replace your face yet, you can still do this. And if you set it to like 30 to 90 seconds long, they all get to kind of have their discussion about it. And then if you set that up in your Flip account as the instructor, they can start to have those discussions there, and it brings a little bit more life to it. Because we do struggle to get students to be active and give, more than the bare minimum in some of our Sakai discussions. But this is kind of the new wave of how you would have a discussion when you're not in real time. So the link would be, they're not submitting anything in Sakai, but they are hitting this link to go to your group, record your video, and then you need to respond to a couple of students by a certain time, and then this discussion would close. And just like the other things, you would need to have a rubric that's very clear about what the expectations are for doing these videos and responding. How much content, what kind of, deep thoughts and reflection that they are. So it's a more authentic assessment.
Does anyone have any questions? Questions about what we've shown you today? Any of the tools? Questions about Flip? Flip is another one that can be used from their phones. I would try to find apps and tools that they could use from their phones. That way I never had well, I forgot my device. Well, I don't have it. Well, I don't have good enough internet. Well, you're emailing me right now telling me you don't have internet. So obviously you have good enough internet. Let's use the app. So all these tools are free. Didn't know if you have any questions, if you would like us to go back over anything. Like I said, I know this was fast. This is what we call the speed dating. So very quickly going through. Yeah, Wendy, go for it. What's your questions?
Actually, it's not so much a question. Just for the Northern folks that are on this today, I just wanted to let you guys know that we can do very much the same things that you're seeing today within our Brightspace LMS. That's all. I just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
No problem. All right. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we've done? Feel free to unmute, anything like that. If not, I think we have a Google form for an evaluation. Like I said, you can be honest. It's okay. It's okay. If you didn't like it, that's fine. It's only going to help me get better. If you did like it, that's great too. Maybe we can be friends. I don't know. We can still be friends if you don't like it though. I'm not saying that we can only be friends if you do like it.
Well, and if you want help setting up something specific,
yes,
for your class, or how to use this, or I can share, actually Amanda and I can each share things that we've actually done in class with these tools, because we've used all of them.
yes.
You have our contact information on the beginning slides, and we'll be happy to help you.
Yeah. So like I said, we
And
know that we only showed you the student version. So if you would like the teacher version of how to set it up, please let us know, and we'd be more than happy to help you out. So Corey, can you drop the feedback form? Because I think you own the feedback form.
Oh, that's right.
Chat. Let us know anything that we can do to improve. And I do mean it, if you don't like something, feel free to put that in, because we're only going to get better if we get constructive feedback. Otherwise, this is the best I'll ever be. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you for hanging out with me till 3 or 2:50. Look at that. I'm letting you out early. What a good presenter.
What a good teacher, huh? Out early. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today, Amanda. It was enjoyable. I learned things. I think it gave us some ideas as to even if we do it in the tools you showed or in other tools that we have access to, just some different ways for us to think out of the box and create some new engagement with our students. So I think that was great. So I want to thank everyone who is still with us for hanging in all day. We are going to be sending out either later afternoon or tomorrow morning a survey about the conference. Let us know, just like this session, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. I am going to ask folks about the timing of the conference. You know, is this a good time of year to have it? Is there another time of year that might be better? You know, we've debated for 3 years now, when is the best time to hold this to reach the most faculty members that we can. And so first 2 years, we had it in June. We've moved it to May this year. So who knows when we'll have it next year, but we will definitely be having another conference next year. And hopefully we will get more participation and just keep getting bigger. And who knows, maybe at some point down the road, we'll be able to do something in person and virtual so that we can all get together and, you know, share best practices and knowledge. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your participation, and I look forward to seeing you next year.